What if New Texas Giant failed?
RMC might not be a thing. Woodies might exist, still stand where they should be standing,
Mhm.
and Six Flags might actually have to continue taking care of wooden coasters.
Yes, New Texas Giant was the first RMC roller coaster to open in 2011, and it really expanded on what RMC could do. Because before that, they were known as they would refurb wooden coasters, and in 2009, I believe, Alan Schilke became a partner with RMC, and he invented this iBox design that became a huge success with New Texas Giant, and then Six Flags would continue to build Iron Rattler and future projects. So without New Texas Giant, the company as itself may not, have prospered the way it has.
Yeah, it's kind of, this is one of the RMC is such an interesting topic in the enthusiast community because they make amazingly fun rides, and there's no denying that. They are a lot of fun. They push the limits. Shilky is not he's a madman. He's not afraid to do things.
The unthinkable.
Yeah, it's there. This is a whole quagmire of how the whole butterfly effects could happen, and the world as we know it is totally different just because New Texas Giant never got built.
Yeah, and this is a new segment we're going to be doing on the channel where we're going to be doing different what ifs all the time. We're going to be trying to do this every couple of weeks. We're going to try to produce a new what if video. And this could be what if anything. What if we owned a park? What if this never got built? What if this company never was successful? It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, today we're doing what if New Texas Giant was never successful.
And yeah, things would be different. It's kind of interesting to think, one of the I mean, we may do this as a what if, but if you go to if Arrow didn't design the tubular track, we might have had iBox track long ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's so many things, but this is specifically, the tubular track got us through the era where computer aided design wasn't really a thing. And that was the big thing that happened with what Schilke was doing. He was really bringing in, even in his few years at Arrow, he was bringing computer aided design into Arrow's designs. Mm-hmm. And, the reason why this iBox thing was a big deal is because of that engineering perspective. And they could design things in a computer that were more realistic. Yeah. So, it changes things so much, just looking in that. But, there's that other aspect of it too, is Six Flags is who made RMC as a company, I think, as a roller coaster company.
Yes. As an actual engineering firm that designs roller coasters, doesn't just refurbish them, but actually, builds their own custom roller coasters. Yes.
And I think, RMC is there's a lot of the conversions that happened that I think were reasonable. And Hurler, I think, was just not a great ride. And I think RMC was great with it. Mm-hmm. Mean Streak, on the other hand, is one that I question. Still Vengeance is a great ride. I have nothing against that. But, how many years in Mean Streak's life were they thinking of this RMC? Mm-hmm. And is that why Mean Streak became such a horrible ride towards the end? Because they really weren't putting the focus into the maintenance.
Yeah, had they kind of predestined, that this was going to happen.
And if New Texas Giant hadn't been built, would Mean Streak still be standing at Cedar Point?
That's an interesting.
And would it still be a great coaster? The great coaster that I remember it,
I went in 2016 and I actually liked Mean Streak. I have to say, I know that's an unpopular opinion. And even at that point, it was supposedly running terribly. But I enjoyed Mean Streak. I thought it was a fun ride. I remember getting off of it. I love Mean Streak. I was not an enthusiast at the time, but I remember getting off of it and going, that was a good coaster. It was actually a lot of fun. I didn't know that. It really was. Yeah, I didn't even know, the enthusiast community disliked it so much because I, again, wasn't an enthusiast at the time. So it had nothing to do with, being against the status quo or anything like that and trying to be, different or edgy or anything like that. I actually thoroughly enjoyed the ride. I remember liking it because, I normally didn't like, at that time, I didn't like Grizzly at Kings Dominion. I didn't like the rough wooden coasters. Now I've grown to love wooden coasters more than I ever have in my entire life. But yeah, Mean Streak was a lot of fun. And who knows? The whole course of the industry could be completely changed. We could still have so many of the older wooden coasters that have now been demolished and taken down, still standing because of this.
The other thing to add into this is like the other, really to add into the butterfly effect, would you look at one of my favorite family coasters, Merlin's Mayhem, and you look at Steel Curtain. Both are S&S designs. They were S&S builds. They were both designed by Joe Draves, who is part of Ride Centerline, which is Alan Schilke's company. So if RMC wasn't giving the business to Ride Centerline, would Ride Centerline exist? And would Joe Draves be around to design those rides? There's so much that RMC and Ride Centerline too. Like there's just so much involved with that and how it could affect various different things.
Yeah, but looking at this theoretically speaking, we're going to look at New Texas Giant here, and that was built in 2011. The next RMC coaster was not built until 2013. That was Iron Rattler, and then Outlaw Rum was built at Silver Dollar City, which was Herschend. But I have a good, strong feeling that they would not have entrusted RMC to build this coaster. I feel like Six Flags is more of the risk taker of the corporate world in terms of theme parks. They take risks.
Six Flags had been working with RMC on refurbing the coasters before, so they had that relationship.
But to take a chance and say, you can not only can you do something, not only can you do something you've never done before, you can do something that's never been done before. Period.
Right.
And I think they decided to take that risk. Outlaw Run is a completely different concept because that is a topper track that was built ground up. I still don't think that Herschend would have taken that chance with RMC if Six Flags had not entrusted them with New Texas.
RMC may not have had the resources to do that.
Yeah, they might not have even been able to.
They may not have been set up for it.
Exactly.
And that gap between, when New Texas Giant opened, people were sitting, I guarantee you parks were everywhere were going, let's see what happens.
Yeah. And that's where we come into this next theoretically. And this is if New Texas Giant actually got built, but just wasn't a successful ride. If it somehow, again, this is all theoretically speaking, if it just didn't produce that great of a ride experience, it wasn't a popular attraction, people didn't like it, what would have happened? And I think, a similar plan would play out here, as I don't think other companies would entrust RMC with the rides, but it's obviously it's very unlikely because RMC obviously has great technology and the ride is fantastic. Obviously, many people have said that, and it's just among a lot of enthusiasts that RMC produces great attractions. But if for some reason they had some sort of flaw or somehow it was a rough ride, it just wasn't as successful in terms of it wasn't a good ride. Yes, maybe it could never have gotten built somehow, but what if it just was never successful?
I could tell you that I'd have a lot less arguments on Reddit. I wouldn't have to be telling people to shut up with their RMC Wildcat business because people wouldn't want RMC things being RMC'd. That would be a bad thing. And people might actually still enjoy Wildcat. There are plenty of people that still enjoy Wildcat, like myself, and I believe you do, James, as well.
Yeah, I liked Wildcat.
Wildcat at Hershey is still an amazing coaster, and I don't understand why people say it's ridiculously rough.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad at all.
If New Texas Giant was miserable, that wouldn't even be something people were demanding.
Yeah, it's just strange to think about a world where people
may appreciate Wildcat.
Yeah, and it's just weird to think about a world where people aren't saying RMC this and RMC that and you should RMC that. It's strange. There's no company out there in the roller coaster industry other than RMC that there's such a different opinion on the manufacturer, because B&M, everyone loves B&M. With Intamin, everyone loves Intamin. Gerstlauer, everyone likes Gerstlauer. There's not a company other than RMC where there is actually people that hate RMC. I know so many people on different forums and pages that are like, I hate RMC. They destroy great wooden coasters and they take them and they're doing. I know a lot of people.
They have a valid argument.
Yes, and I think it's valid. I don't know if it's I don't think it's okay to hate them, but
the outright hatred and despising a company.
Yeah.
That's a little strong and a little ridiculous, but there is a valid argument to what they are saying.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, RMC started out as with the slogan of we're preserving roller coaster history. No, I'm sorry, you're not, because Twisted Timbers is not Hurler. I don't care if some of that wood is what Hurler was.
And half
It
of the
is not
structure,
Hurler.
half of the structure is new wood too. So it's not even like
Right.
they kept the initial lift
Yeah,
structure.
but it's not. You can't say that. Oh, that Hurler still exists. No, it doesn't. Hurler is gone, and I'm okay. Like that. Like I said, that is one of the ones that I don't think that was a huge loss, and we still have others. Like we have Hurler at Carowinds, and we have Thunderhead or Thunder Run. I'm sorry, right? I always get those confused. Thunder Run
at Kentucky Kingdom.
Yes, that one we have. So I like that was one of the ones that I think was a good move. And I know some of the Dinwoodies were actually destroying themselves and probably would have had to be torn down anyway. And in those cases, I think RMC is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
that's true.
Wicked Cyclone,
mm-hmm.
that irritates me. I loved Cyclone at Riverside. That was one of my favorite coasters in exist. I love that ride so much. I can't even explain to you how much fun that ride was. And it's not. And now, granted, Six Flags had their own work with kind of neutering a little bit too. But that's the thing. If RMC wasn't an option, would Six Flags have still preserved that?
Yes. Did they almost plan out what wooden coasters to not maintain as well because they knew this was going to happen? They knew, in a couple of years we're just going to RMC this attraction, so we don't need to really maintain it to the full potential it could be.
Exactly.
Maintained. And that's probably a situation we'd see with a lot of wooden coasters if New Texas Giant wasn't a success in terms of even if it was never built or if it was just built and was a bad ride. So, I mean, this is a completely different coaster world we could be seeing. We could be seeing a lot of old coasters still operating now. But that's the question is, if would companies still preserve them, or would they just take them out and put a B&M Wind coaster in, or B&M, Hyper, or an Intamin lawn? I mean, that's the question is if the rides that actually exactly, it's a question of whether the rides that actually reach the end of their service life, or if parks were just like, we're not maintaining them, because there definitely are some like Twisted Twins at Kentucky Kingdom. That ride was like rotting. Gwazi at Busch Gardens, but I mean, some of those rides were like just in bad shape, and they had to be refurbished and like a large refurbishment in order to maintain them to their actual potential that they'd be running as wooden coasters. So sometimes RMC was actually the best course to take because they just weren't in good shape. But some of the times they were just being lazy and they were just like, let's just RMC this ride.
Well, Gwazi sat not operating for a while. I mean, that's one of those things where you kind of, in a sense, you kind of want to lean towards that ride was going to go away anyway. Exactly. And if it's going to go away anyway, well, then why not?
But would we see rides that could still have been maintained? Would they still be existing? That's the question of like whether or not the
Riverside Cyclone.
Yeah, if the park.
That's one that I just. And Mean Streak. I would love to see Mean Streak still operating the way it did. Cedar Fair has an interesting thing with wooden coasters, though, because they just it seems like Cedar Fair doesn't want to take on the responsibility of maintaining them, so they outsource them, and then they look at it as a huge cost, and they try it's a weird situation, but I don't know. I mean, Mean Streak may well still be, and one of the things that hurt Mean Streak was I think slowing it down. Mm-hmm. More, I think that kind of made it rougher in a sense. Mm-hmm. But we don't know. It's hard to say.
It is hard to say. And we've reached the end of this video. So what do you guys think? What would happen if New Texas Giant wasn't a successful ride, either in a sense that if it wasn't ever built or if it was, again, not a good ride and attraction? What would the industry look like right now? Let us know in the comments, and we'll be sure to respond and have a little bit of a discussion. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys all in the next video.